कृपया ध्यान दीजिए, the language used on the podcast may not be fit for consumption. We warn you, tread carefully. But listen yaar, don't be so conservative. Welcome to Cyrus Says, brought to you by Jupiter, a banking app that helps you master your money. My name is Cyrus, and soon Jupiter will descend on Earth. Yes, I'll explain that statement in a second. But I want to talk because this shows a bit about money, which is a paradox because we make no money, but then in the future we may. You never know, so might as well stay with the program. I want to quickly mention my own personal insight into money, and this came down from my father and actually my uncle Pilus, who's no longer with us. He told me when I was a young boy, never carry money. It's a terrible thing to do because money is like a gun, and it's a fabulous analogy when you think about it. If you carry money or if you carry a gun, ultimately you will end up using it. So that's why I never have money. You can check me at any point in my life. I never carry money, no cash. Before demonetization, before Namoji's great philosophy, I had already had that idea. Now, will I carry cards or not? That depends on which part of the world I'm in. As long as my friend Kunal is nearby, there's no need for that either, because he's a prime sponsor of this NGO called Cyrus Brocha. But who is not a sponsor of anybody is you who's watching. But speaking of sponsors, we have people on board who are from Jupiter, not quite the planet, but they've got this fabulous idea on how to make banking easier. Banking sucks. We've been saying that. We're not saying that just because they're the sponsor. But actually, everybody goes through banking and bureaucratic banking that India has for you. The instructions, if you do it on the phone also, it's horrible because there's 7 voices and different accents and it drives you mad. You all know what I'm talking about. It's not something new. It's not rocket science. So let's introduce on our show path breakers to great human beings. They themselves use Jupiter as a banking system to make their lives easy. And apparently they don't pay tax. They'll tell me all about that as well. Let's welcome, let me get their titles. Kedar first. Kedar Nimkar is the guy with a longer beard. And if it's an audio show, just can you play the beard with your fingers a little bit so the sound effect happens?
Yeah. Is this good?
For those who can't see. That's great. Very sexual. VP Design. Am I right?
Yes, correct.
So, VP Design.
Yeah.
And in fact, offline, you already corrected me about my lack of knowledge about how to do jugaad with everything from Aadhaar card. No, not that we encourage anyone to do that. And we've got Apurv Narang without the extra A. So that's Apurva, but then you swallow the A. So it's Apurva or it's Apurva? Apurv. So I've got to stop myself.
Yeah, so female will be called as Apurva. Male would be called as Apurva.
But I grew up with a boy called Apurva, Divanji.
Maybe someone.
God, you mean he was a woman all along? Damn it! I should have asked him out. What the hell? Apurv, why didn't you tell me earlier? Head of Growth and Marketing. Okay, these are two obviously very high up positions. So you are the guys to ask the questions to. The obvious question we'll begin with is, why is digital banking the way forward? Or rather, what's going to happen to banking? Let's put it up all together. Because I grew up in the 70s and 80s. I mean, as a kid, let's not age me, but at a point where you actually stood in lines, you talked to people. The processes were very time consuming and the efficiency level depends on the branch and the people you knew, to be honest. Now that seems to be slowly just disappearing.
Kedar has a good answer to it, but before just you started, because you mentioned 70s, I would say in 70s you used to go to a museum when you would have a holiday to enjoy yourself, to see what used to happen in old ages. I think in 2030 you would go to a bank, which would be a museum that people would go, how people used to bank. Because they would be banking online everywhere from anywhere rather than going to a branch. So a branch would be a fun time visit for you in near future.
Yeah, but sorry, before Kedar comes in as well. No, I'm saying not just the time consuming was one issue for sure, because you're comparing and of course eras have changed. So that's a mean comparison. But it's also the fact that you feel frustrated with the human contact. Now, I don't want to make it like racism or because I can't speak for other countries, not 100% sure about how it functions. Maybe it's better in Singapore, etc. 30 years ago. But in India, it was almost something you dreaded. I remember in the early days of my late teenage, early adulthood time, you just dread going and interacting with these people because everybody the Bahana system was in place where they just push you back. And that's why we used to enjoy these TV shows that Jaswal Bhatti and all would come up with, because the bureaucracy that ran India was just hilarious, and they just ridiculed you after some time of being a human being and alive. So sorry, Kedar, I interrupted and I will keep interrupting, so you have to just talk over me.
Yeah. No, so I'm a avid listener of Cyrus Says, so I know when to interrupt maybe. Digital banking seems like a future because almost we have 40% plus population using on the internet and using digital products.
And growing.
And growing. And plus almost 50% less 50% plus is like less than 25%, 25 years of population. So yeah, I mean, these kids in the next 5 years, 10 years are going to use everything digital, and banking has to be completely digital. Talking about like the human contact, I think we can harness something other good part of India, which is much more social in nature. Culturally, we have always sort of being saving and conserving. So I think that's where we want to land up also. We want to make people financially independent by helping them save, helping them grow. So yeah, it's when we are inside the system, it seems almost inevitable, and organically it has to happen. So that's where we are at.
Also, I'm thinking if we, I don't want to say privileged or use the word white privilege, but rich urban Indians, if we get intimidated by the process, can you imagine what happens to others? Who anyway are dealing with, a sort of machinery which they're completely alien to, etc., etc. So if we are not on the front foot, can you imagine what happens to them? But having said that, devil's advocate, Apurv, quickly.
Brilliant point. I'll tell you what. In fact, a lot of people sometimes say that I still need to go to the branch. A, you go to the branch when you have an issue and you really don't want to. And B, when they even argue with the fact that tier 2, tier 3 cities, people would still need a branch. You guys are very much digital savvy. You know how to order. You know how to get everything online, get issue resolved online. Even if you don't want to visit a branch offline, that guy still wants to. But I'll tell you the deep reality. You, I, and Kedar can actually go to a branch to resolve an issue even without a mindset or a willingness to go, and can get our issue resolved and waste half a day and still not get penalized. A tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 guy, that guy leaves his daily wage to get his issue resolved or to get some credit to the bank. Actually, that guy needs much more from our perspective, branchless banking. He doesn't want to go to the branch to waste his one day to get devoid of his one day daily labor.
No, I'll just turn that on its head, because my daughter's 15, for example, and I was just thinking, when she needs to order food from a Zomato, no problem. Fatafat, and all the variety, and you can see the energy level is high discussing it and all. But once I asked her to actually call up the restaurant and talk to them, and she was like almost like shell shocked. It was like a culture is alien, and I was like, what? Why is she worried? But actually, it's like, there's no human contact. Sometimes that's the easy way out. Now, having said that, I'm just playing devil's advocate, going back in time. There were also nice guys in banks. Let's call the generic Vijay Bhai. You chat, I'm talking about my father. When you go with your parents back in the day, you sit with Vijay Bhai, he'll give you coffee, tea. We've discussed this on the ads we've promoted here as well. But that culture, there's a romance to it. The whole, where you would sit, you would interact. He would become like an extra, friend, family member, if you like, over the years. And a certain trust would develop. And so that is also there. I don't want to,
On any side, we actually tried checking that while we were doing user research, that a lot of people lied going to the branches in some cases. And we tried that those people also of late have not even enjoyed their trips to bank, because I think they also say that now there is limited assistance in the branch with respect to that personal touch also. So ironically, we figured out that while visiting a branch also, that personal assistance was an issue in terms of what it used to be back then also.
It's also a question of market supply, in the sense that too many of us and too little of them. And mostly you go on the same day as the first part of the month, etc., etc. So a lot of that is such that they can't handle the market at one go. So I presume that's one of the problems. But I was just saying that there's a charm to that. It's like when we were young, going to the hill stations, etc. Now everybody's going abroad, and my kids and our generation will not see hill stations. It's almost like they see it in their 20s, 30s by themselves, which is odd that they don't see all that. So I don't know. I'm not saying right or wrong, but I'm just trying to, for a second, just for the sake of argument, look at it from the other side. Kedar, if we interrupted you, you were trying to say something.
I was actually, from the user research itself, we figured out that anyways, India has many Indias, right? So there are, when the ATMs...
According to Veerdas, yes.
So when ATMs launched, a lot of people still wanted to go to the bank because they thought they couldn't use the ATM machine. Like it's quite geeky for them. While some people moved to purely ATM because they didn't want to confront or didn't want to talk to those Vijay Bhais. So I mean, we have different types of people, but more or less inclined towards digital now.
We've already got someone singing a song. Vikram says, I'm a Jupiter user. I can't see people. I mean, it's so sad. In a way, it's sad because I see the obsolete banking system. Ultimately, it'll just have to go. It's like, we had CDs, we had records, and we had CDs, tapes rather than CDs. Then CD came out LD. And, what can you do? There's nothing we can do. The world just changes. Let's
Yeah.
talk about design for a minute. When you now you've got a competition as well, and the competition
Hmm.
will come from all quarters, and one of it is design, making the app easy, making it colorful, vibrant, making it trendy. For me, it will always be the concept of easy to use, and I'm sure that's important to a lot of people. But there are also certain HEP customers, and they're looking at a little bit more than that. So you tell us.
I would say, like, we as Jupiter, we first of all believe in it should work, right? Period. There's no sort of
As my wife asked me,
other.
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, and then comes the look and feel. So I would like to sort of paraphrase a famous designer, Massimo Vignelli. Like,
Oh,
if you Massimo
Kedar, you can just
Vignelli.
throw a name at us. We have no idea.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, he's like a, yeah, no, no,
Have you
he's a
heard of
famous.
Gopal Rajadaksha? I mean, he's great.
No. So yeah, I mean, he sort of designed the subway, the metro rail, and yeah, he's a legendary designer. And what he said is, like, if you look for essence, then you sort of achieve timelessness. But if you look for like the appearance, then it's transitory, right? So we being like me, my team, the TG which we are like going after, everyone is sort of influenced
Who's
with a lot
who's a
of.
TG, Kedar? Sorry to interrupt. Who's a TG? Is there? I thought it would be a full spectrum.
I think Apurv will be able to spec that out.
Yeah, ठीक है भाई. मुश्किल question
नहीं
है.
नहीं नहीं आ रहा है मुझे, but सही बंदे को बता रहा हूँ.
Marketing. It's in his sphere. I get it. Yeah.
So Cyrus, even though you're very correct that the entire length and breadth in terms of age needs to be serviced with a good new user experience and a new way of banking. But when we started talking to people, and we started talking to people between 21 to 35 in itself, honestly, we actually realized there are 4 to 5 different prominent customer personas. And we really went confused that even though everyone hated banking, but their expectations, the way they want to be served, their needs were very different. And they were different on actually 2 dimensions. One, the discretionary income they had. B, the financial savviness and the financial exposure that they had with respect to the past and all of that. So we realized there are 4 customer personas. And hence, if we were to build in the first 2 to 3 years, even the vision remains the same, that we want to improve the financial wellness of every Indian, we might need to focus on one segment of TG. And that is why precisely we figured, okay, let's build an excellent banking product for someone who's aged between 25 to 32. We knew the lifestyle changes once you get married, once you have a kid, the lifestyle changes, your financial objective changes. So even though in the longer term, the vision is to have that experience for everyone out there, but we thought, let's build the best from focusing on one customer persona, one target segment, which is broadly between the age of 25 to 32, has had a decent mild exposure to banking in the first or second year of his job, and now would want to switch to a new way of banking because he's already on a Swiggy. When he orders food, he shops from Myntra or otherwise orders cab from Uber. So he's very much receptive to this digital banking app experience. So let's focus on him while we expand our TG, or while we go out all for everyone out there.
So, just going from that point, then the pandemic must have really helped you guys, or rather the business, in a sense. Because I'm just thinking, you mentioned Swiggy, and I immediately thought banking was an issue. If you were old-fashioned and want to go to a bank, that's gone. I'm looking at 2021, of course. And then you suddenly realize if there is an alternative way, there's no need to go back to the old way. So, in a sense, do you think that helped you all?
So I would say pandemic was one of those inflection points when everyone thought that, why do I need to go out? Can I do it at home? And then whatever products
That
were
sounds
already
very vulgar, Apurva. Please be careful. We're talking about banking, not something that rhymes with banking. Go on.
so then they realized that, and then they realized if I couldn't go out and do it at home, and there were already products like Swiggy and all already existing, and if I were to say all e-commerce platforms are already there. So of course their business boomed, because even if I were to pay an offline visit to a restaurant or to a store, I could do it online. Unfortunately, in banking, to be very honest. And I'll tell you, that was a wake-up time for a lot of traditional banks also. And I would say give good credit to a lot of traditional banks also, who for the first time came up with their good version of apps also. Without naming, now we have a couple of decent working apps. But I'll tell you still the difference. Mindset is still not digital first. It is only they tried digitizing sometimes what they used to do offline. So sometimes, and I'm telling you, ironically, couple of issues, half would be resolved online, for half you would still need to go to offline. But here was, I think, Jupiter, who went with the philosophy that we might not have a branch at all in future. And right now, though, we don't have it, of course. So can we build this entire experience online so that he can open his account in 5 minutes? He can have his debit card at his home. And even while he wait for his debit card on 24 hours, can he start banking within 5 minutes of opening an account? Yes, we could do. You could open an account in 5 minutes. You could have your debit card pin set instantly and use it at a commerce platform. And I agree. Sometimes we were also, before pandemic, we were preempting that how would be the receptiveness around the masses. I don't know, was it pandemic or was it just the basic onboarding being sorted in 5 minutes for someone to open an account that worked for us? And fortunately, we have 5,000 to 6,000 people asking for debit cards every day.
Wow. And again, growing. The great thing is this market is just going in one direction. But I want two questions I want to ask you. One, I want to get back to the Jupiter name, which I should have asked in the beginning. Where did that come from? And I'm sure there's an interesting story there. And secondly, we're talking, let's be more specific now. What is wrong with the banking system, if that's the right word? And what are the changes that you see that have to come into play? Not just for you, but just for the entire system, for the country. So first, let's talk about Jupiter. I know that you have lots of planets to choose from, and one of them sounds very vulgar, Uranus. You don't want to do that, but I'm told that it's pronounced differently. It's pronounced Uranus or Uranus or something. So I think we get that wrong. But why? Jupiter is the biggest, right? Is of the planets?
Yeah.
So is that
in our solar system?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if there are any other solar systems
in our solar system.
In case breaking news happens.
Apurv, should we give the internal version or the external version?
Dono de do, sir. Discount bhi milega. All digitalized.
Yeah. So I know the sort of when Jiten, who had been on Cyrus Says previously, he also mentioned that I think he was in Israel or France somewhere, and he was having a nap in a bus, and Jupiter just struck. And it's not like nothing cliche ki, like kahin se chamka, is not that. It just like it came to his mind. And then when we approached the agency, they built an entire story around it, being the biggest planet. I think
it also means a planet of wealth, by the way. It means a planet of wealth.
Oh, that's a very good point. Yeah, but you don't want a planet of war or something. Sorry?
That was coincidental, not intentional. After coining and finalizing the name, then we got to know that, okay, it's also the planet of wealth.
Yeah,
man. So what do you call it?
No, it's the same story. So there are two sides. So internally it just struck, but the other side, it's a planet of wealth. It's the biggest planet in the solar system. So can we aspire to be the biggest financial institution?
But Kedar, Apurv is going on record to say that he had the idea and coincidentally it was the planet of wealth. It's not the other way around. This is on record now. So let's be clear. So that's karma. There's a karmic thought there. He's able to do that, and karma came on your side and it established the most obvious point, which is it's the planet of wealth. Let's get back to the specifics, because let's look at it. I know for simple people like me to understand, or what is, I don't want to use the word wrong, but how do you take the banking system progressively forward? Tell us.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's figure out, or let's point out like two big things which according to us have been sort of wrong or slacking in the traditional banking spaces. One is context or deep insight about the user. I've been a user of my current bank apart from Jupiter for last 15-20 years, and they don't know anything about
his salary
me.
Cut Sorry, go on.
And they don't know anything about me, right from like if I put in an ATM card, how much the money am I expecting to withdraw, to how much loan do I require. Like my bank balance is there with them, right? Still they call up and say, sir, loan chahiye kya? So I think that deep insight about the user is missing. And the second is empathy. I think these are two meta words to summarize a lot of things under them. But again, traditional banks have, according to us, have really low empathy. They message you, they keep calling you, they force.
You're a number. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think these are two. Anything
that's a very good point. I think those stupid calls that happen, and again, we've spoken about it in the promos, but it really touches home. Who has not been irritated? I can understand the concept, the philosophy, the thinking behind it. When the marketing guy who came up with that idea said, phone karo, baar phone karo, 100 baar phone karo, ek baar lagega. My point is, but you just piss people off. You just look at people around you, how they react. Kiska phone hai? Chutiya ka phone hai. It's literally like that. Sorry to use language, but so what is it's just stupid. So that's clearly like an error. This forcing people with their stupid information, the half information they have, you'll need a housing loan. By the way, that also makes you feel bad sometimes, They think you're in desperate times. Sorry.
I have a small hack to this, which is a polite hack. So once someone called recently and I said, sir, abhi meeting mein hu, baad mein call karna. So he asked very genuinely, sir, next kab call karu? I said, 2030 like 2030, 5th May, 12 p.m. And he just like
specific time or detail, huh? Was there an awkward pause or he said, okay, theek hai?
Yeah, he just hanged up. Apur, you want to add anything to like the pain points which we discussed?
Yeah. So again, coming to the user research bit we did, and people who used to go to branches and people who still didn't go to branches but were banking online. Almost everyone had. So people who still went to the branches, they had an issue of long queue, lack of lack of assistance at the branch, lack of transparency, and who people didn't go to the branch but still went banked online. For example, me, like 3 years back, they still had an issue that I have to still, if an issue, I have to go partly to the branch and partly online resolution. There is a bad UI, UX, app crashes sometime. It's so unreliable. And, everything boiled down to one thing. And as Kedar said, customer experience. And everyone asks us, we always say that customer experience gaps left such a big white space for anyone to enter it. We'll talk about that, how we don't have a license.
It's obvious what you're saying. I'm just thinking, it seems so obvious. It's like the reverse of rocket science.
Yeah, exactly. Service was itself, gaps was left such a big white space that anyone could enter. We would also talk about why was not everyone entering. And that's the elephant in the room that everyone tries to ask us. Otherwise, when we go beyond this room, that we don't have a license. But it actually invited everyone to come in and disrupt because there was sort of customer experience issues. Even as Kedar said, right now I open my old banking app. It will sell me a child insurance at the same time, retirement plan at the same time. It will offer me a loan at the same time. It will offer me everything that it can offer me in those 2 minutes of me opening the app. It's almost like I enter a bank, 5 folks are coming. Credit card le lo sir, loan le lo sir, ye Sukanya Samriddhi scheme le lo sir. मेरी लाइफ और मेरी एज को समझे बिना, even though I've been banking with you, मेरा सब कुछ है तुम्हारे पास, but
you're a target basically. Ting.
So actually, when everyone asks us, I said there is such a gap. It is almost like you have to go to buy groceries on field, or now you're getting it at home. Actually, everyone is going to the store. Now it is being delivered at home. It's not that easy for us, for anyone to enter banking the way they could enter grocery. And that I think we should talk later in the conversation out there. But it was just customer experience gaps at every touch point.
Yeah. Right.
If I can add one more thing. So how have we resolved, right? Just wanted to share some things like simple stuff like bank statement are like, they have a format in which it's supposed to be read by some OCR machine and then only it's legit. So we are challenging these small things as well. And obviously the bigger stuff is like, our chat bot, which is there, it resolves almost 50% plus queries without any manual intervention, with instantly, right? And 24/7 sort of support. Even like small nuances from a design end, like when the balance is low, we turn it red saying, hey, like you want to deposit more money. So these are like smaller things which
that
add
won't make
to the
you feel
bigger.
bad. But you need them to feel bad in a sense because it's like a warning.
Yeah, at least there is some insight, right? The balance is low and then we nudge you to do something about it. It's not just randomly the balance is like healthy, but you still like upsell a credit card. That's not what we are doing. And neither we intend to.
It's like a petrol tank. I know the feeling for both, so I understand totally. Let's quickly get into your personal story because we'll have to take a break, and then I think one of our studios anchors will come in as well. I want to know how did you land up here? If this is a really short personal journey, if possible. How did both of you land up in this Jupiter, digital banking world? How did that start?
I'll go first. Yeah.
Yes, please.
So this is my first fintech experience. It has been great. Previously, I was at Book My Show, and before that, I was at ClearTrip. And somehow the ClearTrip founder knew Jiten, the current founder, and I just landed up with like a good chat with Jiten. Felt inspired with what he's trying to.
But Kedar, your interest, obviously your design space and creative space, I understand that, but the interest in banking per se was not there, or on to change the world of banking. And
no, actually, it depends on how I would define design, right? If design is problem solving, then banking has the biggest, as in like fintech has the most sort of exciting challenges and opportunities. So yeah.
No, it goes hand in hand. I suppose you can't escape it right now. You can't just design something which doesn't have an eye-catching appeal and make it easy at the same time as well. As customers are real pricks here. They want it to be nice and polished, or be aasan hona chahiye. Nani ji ke liye hai. I'm just thinking you must be going mad because you're thinking what the person is thinking that he needs from you. The demands are unjustified because we are not one type. We are mixed. but we want all the mixed types to be serviced by one damn app correctly for everyone. So how do you? I mean, how do you? You can't please everyone. How do you do it?
No, I mean, so one thing which definitely differentiates digital products is mainly that you know whom you're talking to, and at least you know whom you wish to talk to, right? So what happens with banks like, say, SBI, who handles right from like everyone from, if I may
My
call, like
family
a,
bank. Be nice.
if, yeah. So yeah, if you want to call them, like if there is a pyramid and right, every section of the pyramid needs to be served, then you have to design for the lowest sort of yeah, I don't want to like go
Lowest
politically
is
wrong with,
I know what you're saying. Let's not say
yeah.
these words. There's no lowest and highest. It's just flexible. Let's
Yeah,
keep it. It's more like a fly. I
yeah,
know what you're saying. Look,
correct,
I am
yeah,
that lowest sometimes. You need to spoon feed me. So
yeah,
totally. I mean, I understand that. But there's another guy who he'll be irritated because it's too simple steps for him. Anyway,
yeah,
let's just quickly get into Apurv's story. How he
yeah.
landed up in Jupiter and how much equity he owns and how much money he's made online and offline. Dono, Sarji.
So I started way back my journey with Citi. I worked across Bombay and Singapore offices in Citibank. I think after spending some 3 years at Citi initially, I moved to Paytm. I was there with Paytm for 5 years. So seen demonetization, post demonetization, beautiful experience of how the landscape of payments changed in India. And yes, here I am now to actually be the part of the story which changes the landscape of banking in India. That is what Jupiter is doing. Not much of a reason why I am here, but the simple reason that I believe that we are at the cusp of the times when banking would change in India.
No, you are like the MS Dhoni of this world, digital banking world, in a sense, because you stayed with the Chennai Super Kings from the beginning. You're just going through, which is great. So the growth is in staying in the one thing and getting better at it, sort of thing. But one question I want to ask you, and this really hurts me to ask, what will happen to one of the greatest things that we have in India, which comes through the bureaucratic systems that we have in banks? Old-fashioned banks had that. The bribing. I mean, I'm worried that we cannot bribe because of online. Changing the tradition. Can you please give some space for bribing?
It's very tough. I think in the end we might need to resort that you can tip us if you're resolving
banking service tax. There should be some banking service, like a service tax in restaurants. Yeah.
No. I don't know. I think that's the beauty of the things going online. That you can't do what you used to do offline.
Apurva, can I ask you one question? Sorry, can I ask a quick question? We have to go to break. One quick question is I want to ask is, if we look at, I would say advanced economies, but they've had digital banking in place ahead of us, like Korea, Japan, US, what have you. What's the state of their land banks, their old-fashioned banks? What happens now there, for example?
So I'll tell you in the countries wherein these digital-first banking apps have come in via not a banking license and then eventually got a banking license, they have disrupted. And actually, so Brazil, for example, is a beautiful example. Top 5 banks controlled 90% of the market. And then there came a new bank in 2013-14. They have a 30% market share. And they were just digital first. And then their entire philosophy was that we would enter this space, even with behemoths being there, but we will try to solve all the issues and all the expectations that people have in a digital first manner. They killed it. And I'm telling you, we go to any economy wherein digital first applications have come in to solve for banking, they have taken the market with a storm.
It's scary actually, because 70, 80 year ka tradition, sometimes maybe 100 year ka tradition and more. And in 5 years, these guys have upset the apple cart and they are ahead in terms of numbers. That's ridiculous. Anyway, that's
only
life,
one thing, Cyrus. Only one reason, Cyrus. They focused on serving the customer for which the banks were meant to be.
I agree.
There's
no question. I mean, just look at the way the banking is just, I hate to say it, but if you are out there in a branch, working in a branch physically, talk to Kedar if you can, talk to Apurva if you can. Maybe there's a vacancy because in 5 or 6 years or maybe less, I don't know, we may have to come into podcasting or entertainment to survive. Okay, we have to take a break. Before we do that, I've got a message that I wrote last night after drinking lots of coffee, and this is it. It's my tribute. It's in prose form, but poetry hai, so you have to get the rhythm. The show is dedicated to Jupiter. We cannot do more in terms of Chelagiri and Chamchagiri. It's disgusting how sycophantic this show has become. But as my mother says, you have no spine. So please carry on. As in, I have no spine, guys. You have spines. We'll go into a quick Jupiter money break. And when we come back, some more with either Silvery or Abbas. Here's the break. Guys, that's Amit Doshi's voice. He's available for private functions, parties, weddings, puppet shows. The MILF community. If you have school with these young mothers and all that. Not that you should be flirting when you are married and you have your children, but it was fun when I was a little younger. Now let's go back to the topic of the day. Abbas has joined us.
There is no MILF community, Cyrus. It's all in your head.
Abbas, you lost hair, and with that you've lost hope. Please understand. Without the MILF community, there's nothing to think about as we age. Please understand that. Don't take that away from us. We've got positive news from banking, but not from the world of living, as far as I know. There's a remark saying we have a co-creating banking community which still holds the old world charm which Cyrus was talking about. I think it's from Kedar.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes, you read. Yeah. No, I like you were talking about the old charm of having and going to banks and having those chat. I think we have a evolved version of it where we have a community who keeps giving us feedback, who are early adopters, and big kudos to them for helping us build the experience they would like to have. It's like a decent base for us to test as well.
But Kedar, don't get me wrong. See, what I'm saying is that my daughter's generation, the generation after me, they just don't know that. This is just something we are hanging on to. It's like if I grew up, I can maybe name a couple of Dilip Kumar films. But I've done a podcast where the girl didn't know who Dilip Kumar is, and or Kapil Dev was, for that matter, before this 83 released. I'm like, so the world is just different. You can't, and it's not their fault. It's just the way it goes forward. What can we do? What I'm saying, for up to my generation, there's a little bit of that also. But wo to gaya abhi. Just tell the old man it's over. Get out of here. Don't waste my time. And digital is the future, and that's it. Yeah. Speaking of old men, Abbas has joined us because Silvery, the co-anchor,
still sick, still recovering.
He went to a bank and got locked up in the safe or something. You don't know what happened.
Yeah. But Cyrus, since I wasn't in the first half, I think I have to do the mandatory plug of asking. That's a really cool T-shirt that you're wearing, Cyrus.
Oh, right. We're only plugging Jupiter. We forgot to plug IBM and the T-shirts. Yeah, what is this nonsense? It's a marketing suicide. What are we doing here? I'll stand up. There you can see it.
Yeah. That's a beautiful T-shirt, Cyrus. You can get that kind of T-shirt for yourself.
Thanks
as well
for telling me,
from the IVM podcast website, where you can we have the design on screen? There you go. There's one that says Kripya Dhyan Dijiye, which is available in multiple colors. This is the one that Cyrus is wearing right now. He's wearing one in black. You can also get one in blue. This one's called Designed by Putin, and my favorite called the Big Boomer Energy, and a little cute one that we have called iPad Dogs for Cardio. So you can get all these from the IVM website. The link will be in the comments.
Make payments through Jupiter. I mean, just look at it. We can tie it all up. Yeah. Maybe we'll throw in a little discount if you use the right planet for the right cloth. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
The link will be in the description and also in the chat. So go crazy and order yourself some amazing
t-shirts. Guys, we haven't sold any shirts. So what we want you to do is just come and take them. We won't even charge you. Just come to IVM, we're in cars, open the cupboard, take the damn shirts and go. Because really having
going like hot cake, Cyrus. What are you saying?
Really?
T-shirts are okay. Yeah. Didn't you see yesterday?
Except for these two guys, the show is fiction. So you can go and say what you want. I'm hoping Kedar and Apurv have given us some sort of traditionally correct answers. We'll find out in the fullness of time. But let's go on. Do you have any questions? By the way, Abbas, you're much younger. Let's face it.
Yes.
So you're completely online guy, completely digital banking guy. I presume you don't really. I know you grew up in bike.
I'm in my early 30s, so I have kind of seen that transition.
No, but have you personally gone through the banking system like I did between the 80s and 90s? Definitely was all, standing in lines and waiting for the teller in the kiosk and this and that.
A little bit, yes. So I'm 34. So I've been an adult for 16 years.
Are you 34 B or C? And can you show us your chest?
No, I can't. Everything will get blurred. But I mean, when I turned 18, I think for the first couple of years, I did have to make a couple of visits to the bank and everything, but everything went digital very soon. So,
just quickly, what is your memory? Is your memory good or bad of those visits? Was it complicated, or were you playing a back?
I would always not look forward to going to the bank because all the cliches of getting sent from one section to the other, and obviously the most cliche thing is the moment you reach there, they have lunchtime, right? So
No, and the other thing is you're always in the wrong department.
exactly.
The only thing is for withdrawing cash, you're okay. Beyond that, everything is the wrong department. So, ye line, ye galat hai, wo wahan pe. And they generally
And
just
like,
point in a direction, then figure it out.
Small things like when you reach you have to fill up a form, you don't have a pen. So there's this whole 5-minute rigmarole of getting a pen, finding someone who has a pen, and like, ye bank ka pen hai, aapko nahi de sakte. So all that kind of stuff. So yeah, all of that has gone completely out of the window, which I'm thankful for.
There you go.
I think there will be a small window somewhere of people who are indifferent because they have been conditioned by these stories and they have to visit, say, once a year. Right. So they have sort of indifferent, right? हाँ, pen लेके जाना है, लेके जाऊंगा, and like
भाई South Bombay में problem कहाँ से शुरू होता है मैं बताऊंगा. You have to first find parking. That's the first freaking problem. उसके बाद you have to see the bank is open because the timings keep changing now. That's another headache. What it was in the 90s, what it is now is different completely. उसके बाद human contact. उसके बाद right सही point पे. And after that, who's the next guy? Where do you find the next guy? There's no end to it. Let's face it.
And there's always one elderly gentleman who's fighting with the bank teller at some point about something.
Probably rightly so, because he's 25 years in the line, for God's sake. He was 11 years old when he came with a birthday cake, and the guys have not given him service. So yeah, I don't think we have to sell it. Anyone who's been through it, old or young, will know this. I mean, within 5 minutes, you're getting your work done, and you're in your AC comfort of, well, not everyone has AC, but you're in the comfort of your homes or whatever. I mean, how can you compare, yaar? Abbas ji, how much money do you have in your bank account?
I can't reveal that.
Unbelievable. I thought it was a very candid discussion. Kedar is going to tell us immediately how much GST he borrowed last time. Kedar?
Yeah. No, I'm a designer, so I'll pass.
The designer kya nahi?
The creative part will pass it on.
Yeah. Well, give a creative answer. You could have said anything. 10,000 crores.
All I'll say is for everybody watching and listening, please Google Cyrus Brocha net worth and then.
That's bullshit, yeah. Come on. I live with my parents. You know, I mean, what are you talking about? I don't have money to live alone.
Right. That gets us a plug. We have a feature called as net worth, which actually gathers data about you after your consent and cumulatively shows you how much your net worth is, right? From the mutual funds to
Kedar, Apurv, उसमें दो चीज होना चाहिए ना. One must be net worth, one must be lack of net worth, because you should have both the options. You want the wrong people to knock on your door. Although in India, if the ED doesn't come to you, you're not famous. To be really famous, one ED moment should happen in your life. You know, photos, ED ke saath, coffee, pilao, ye wo, and all that. They're going to the house. We had that one moment once. I hope one day. Yeah. Let's see.
Vinay just Googled Cyrus Brocha net worth and it says 1.5 million.
Yeah. They can say whatever they want, yeah. I mean, you look at the members of parliament. Some of them have put in like 3 lakhs and all that when they're standing for elections as gross.
So you're saying you have more. This is the official figure.
I wish I had more. I would give my money to Jupiter so they can design even more apps. I'm all about helping the other people here out there, other planets.
So I was going through the pointers for discussions, and there's one thing that kind of stood out to me, which is this is I think kind of falls under Kedar's department, is how does one make the design more quote unquote youth centric for new age digital banking? Is that a point to keep in mind, or do you want it to even be accessible?
And you have to keep changing it.
A 60-year-old accessing, because now everything is digital. So even let's say a 65-year-old using the app, who is the target audience in mind while designing?
No, I would put it the other way around. As I mentioned earlier, like first it should work, right? I mean, the entire focus is like a lot of time the payment doesn't go through in traditional banks. There's like limbo where the money is stuck. There's a lot of anxiety. So the first layer which we constantly strive for it should work. That's the main thing. And regarding the making it youthful or like pretty looking, I think that's how design is also not really positioned well, right? Making good aesthetics is an outcome. If you do the functionality right, I think I'm going the cliche way, but form will follow the function, right? So currently
the design Palm Beach Road, where the houses are horrible. Who designed that? Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so my design team, myself and obviously the TG, which we have sort of carved out for now, are pretty much influenced by the Western world. So clean lines, simple UI, lot of breathing space, good typography. I think these are anyways a great win over the traditional banks. I think even if we achieve, No, go
But
ahead,
Apurv
Cyrus.
mentioned ki 21 to 35 as a, I don't know, it's like the MTV generation ka numbers. I'm not sure. So that is the first target. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it not?
Yeah.
So while I said that, even between 21 to 35, you will find different customer personas. A 21 to 24 behaves very different from a 25 to 28, and very different from 29 to 32 and 32 beyond. Again, your life cycles stage, complications, expectations, objectives change. Just to also respond what Kedar had stable, that I agree that everyone talks that design should be about how it works, not about how it should look. But let's accept one reality also, that if we talk about current generation, between anyone who is 25 to 32, his expectation is also that it should look good also. So there is a dual expectation. Let's accept it. And this guy is now spoiled by beautiful UI of apps where he goes on for dating or goes on for shopping clothes or for consuming content. He has an idea. He has a learned habit of now using his app in one peculiar way. Expects it looks too nice. So even though design principles say that it's about how it works, not looks, but let's be very honest. Today, the expectation is it should look good. It should work fantastically.
It's a bit like what my wife was promised on the wedding night, that, both the looks and the functionality are there. Both faded by 2 weekends, and she's still here. It's my birthday. Abbas, it's my wife's birthday.
Happy birthday.
What's her name?
To Aisha.
Aisha.
Oh.
Happy birthday, Aisha. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
In time, yeah, bach gaya main. Kedar, we need an app for this also. Remember the weddings and all properly.
There is one.
Remember
It's
bank
called
account numbers?
Yeah.
It's for my generation. Thanks, Abbas. Slap on the face. God bless you. Yeah.
And Abbas, I also want to add to that is that design, at least as design team and a design function, especially while designing for a bank, we believe in a lot of consistency and predictability. I mean, that ensures a good look and feel automatically. If you know what to anticipate and what the screen is going to be next, I think it's a part of good UI with good function as well.
Sure.
So that's how you build trust.
Also, who doesn't want to be part of good aesthetics? I mean, at the end of the day, it's not like people will say, "Oh, yaar, ye bahut acha hai, mere liye acha nahi hai." I mean, we have low self-esteem, I suppose, maybe, possibly, but that's it. Doesn't make any sense. Abbas, tell us a little bit about.
One more question, then we can go to the AMAs. So, why can't Jupiter officially call itself a bank yet? You have to use the moniker of digital banking app. So, why is that?
Sure. So I'll take this to be very precise and correct. We are not a bank, which means we do not have the license from RBI, and we can't keep deposits, issue deposits, and hence lend on our own as per the rules and regulations of RBI. But that's not the model by which you can bank otherwise with someone. So RBI now, and in fact officially, they have set up a committee to work on what the framework of a digital banking license looks like, so that digital banking licenses can be granted, just like the traditional banks have their own license in which physical presence is a must. So A, we don't have the license. B, we still host your money. We still host your account with Federal Bank, which is a partner bank, which is an RBI regulated entity. So exactly what I'll just put it in one line. You order in Swiggy, but you order from a restaurant. You book a cab, but the cab belongs to someone else.
Correct.
So you book a hotel on OYO, but the hotel belongs to someone else. So it's almost like there's an existing infrastructure of banks which is regulated. By the way, you keep your money in any bank account with Citibank, with Axis Bank, with Kotak, with Federal. Your money is insured about 2 or 5 lakh, for example, amount. It's the same that applies. So we are just a layer which offers you an experience of banking. Your money is kept in a federal bank, which is regulated entity by RBI. But sooner or later, I hope the RBI, which is already working on a framework for digital banking license, either puts out that framework for us to have that license, or maybe you never know, we go and hunt for a traditional banking license
Kedar,
tomorrow.
I'm both of you all, Apurv, I'm glad both of you all have come on this show, because this is the show that the RBI listens to. They stop everything. Ab to suna, and 100%
I won't be surprised if they actually do.
I would have actually agreed with Cyrus for everything, but Cyrus, you know why I can't agree with you on this?
Bolo.
RBI किसी की नहीं सुनता सर. अगर आपने देखो RBI कहता है
This is like Amitabh Bachchan dialogue. RBI किसी को नहीं सुनता है.
RBI कहता है कि आप अपना OTP कीजिए. RBI कहता है, सुनता नहीं है. प्रॉब्लम नहीं है.
Wow. The ultimate spouse.
No, RBI. No, I think our regulators are really good, forward-looking regulators, and one of the most smartest regulators in the world.
This is the theme of our show. We apologize for everything at the end of it, whatever you've said. No, fair enough. It's just a matter of time. You mentioned Brazil and all these other countries as well. I think it's just a matter of time where the licenses come in and the holistic approach to banking is transferred to you guys. But in the meantime, I'm sure a lot of people are asking questions. This is a very matter of fact sort of situation. So let's find out.
Yes.
Follow me at Instagram and Twitter on Bored Brocha. I'm so bored, I need your help. I need your love. I need your touch. Okay, just follow me.
Cool. Let's go to the AMAs. Bunch of questions here. This first one is from Grim Fandango. Kedar and Apurv, Jupiter hosts the accounts with federal banks. Then wouldn't it be prudent to get a bank account with the federal bank directly?
Yeah. If I can add to that, when Apurv mentioned we are a layer, we are a very thick layer. So it's almost for the user to have that trust. Yes, your money is safe. There is this, like a federal bank. But for all practical purposes, we have built an experience around the core bank, is that this thick layer handles everything and also plus value-added services. So, Apurv, you want to add anything to that?
No, but if you listen to the podcast, sorry, Apurv, the whole idea of the whole thing is the process becomes more fluid. That's the whole idea. I mean, Grim Fandango, pay attention, for God's sake. He's one of the regulars. Sorry, Apurv, go on.
No, so as I said that, yes, you can bank with any bank directly, but the experience of banking, plus what that bank helps you to act upon, does it let you spend wisely and save more? All I remember, my banks just want to swipe my credit card so that I can spend more with it. So does it make you spend wisely by actually letting you know how much you're spending, where, how can you save? If you have an issue, you can just have it resolved on your app. So it's about that experience. So the core banking functionality remains the same if you were to bank with an X bank directly or with via us, but that entire experience in itself changes the way you bank. So it's about the way of banking. The core functionality remains the same with everyone. You will put some money in account, you would want to do something with it, but the entire experience of it is about the new way of banking that I think we are trying to solve for. And I think what people love now, fortunately, we have now 1 million bank accounts with us, 1 million plus people banking with us. And I think that helps us validate that the fact that they wanted to have this new way of banking.
But what we can do to entice customers more is you can offer us like one Mercedes-Benz free for downloading the Jupiter app. Those kind of things I work very well with people like me. Nothing big.
I like how you directly went for a Mercedes, Cyrus, not even like a small
5%
car.
cashback. 5% cashback. I thought like that would be the highest.
Got to, take chances, Hardik Pandya style. You got to go for the ball, sometimes. Okay. So let's
Grim
take
Fandango has a similar question again. Says every bank now has an app which caters to everything and is paperless. How do you guys pitch Jupiter against well-established banks? What's your USP?
Troublesome guy, this Grim Fandango.
I think he's looking at getting a
Jupiter for the whole hour. और हम आ गया साला man जो अभी last में obstacle करा है इधर. Guys.
So yeah, maybe I would just want to go specific here. There are traditional banks and then there are traditional banks with their banking interface, which is online with its app also. But I would still say that, can someone actually tell me how much they spent on Uber last month? Jupiter 4 can actually tell you just in the blink of an eye. So he has insights of where he spends. He always had a motivation to save. But with Jupiter, he's actually saving towards a goal by naming that goal, which you always had in mind. He would name that goal. Okay, I want to plan for my next trip to London. I want to plan for my next college funding. He makes a goal out there, and the banks and the banking app helps him to motivate and make him move towards that goal. Did your bank do that? So my questions are still is that the USPs lies in the way you would bank with us vis-a-vis you bank with that any other platform or any other bank out there. If you were to have an issue resolved, because you don't need to go to an IVR to endlessly hear when is your turn. That's where when we come in is that, okay, you might have an issue, just text us and we'll resolve it in the blink of an eye. So all I'm saying is that right from onboarding to way you have a touch point with your banking in your life, at every moment, we just get away with the fact that you need not to bank. We do it everything. A bank should just work, and it should just work without any explicit presence or friction around it. And that is wherein I think the USPs of Jupiter come in. At every touch point, we don't make you feel like that you're banking. We make you feel like we're enabling some part of your life by solving it for an in a way that you would just love it. So the delight should come out of it. And I think that delight with respect to every touch point is our USP. And as I said, I started customer experience gap, built that white space. Our entire focus is on serving that customer by providing him an experience that he can't have anywhere else.
So it's performance driven. The answer is it's performance driven, and Jupiter backs itself to give you better quality. Sorry, Grim.
Aditya,
No third
Aditya
question will be
says-
allowed. You're suspended
it's
for one
already
show.
on screen. I've moved back. Aditya says I've moved back from the US, and what I notice is that credit card offers and penetration is nowhere close, despite the quote unquote digitization. Why is this, and is it going to change anytime soon?
I think Aditya, I must appreciate, Aditya pointed out a very well thing that penetration is still not solved for. And let's be very honest, even though we have crore banking accounts, but still the credit card account number is nowhere close to it. So I'll tell you, beautiful figure. Everyone banks, but no one has a wealth management product. People don't have credit. So people don't use credit for good. They don't use wealth management product for their own good. And that's it when, Aditya, I would say, bank never focused on looking at your overall financial wellness. And that's it. I think our attempt is overall financial wellness comes from the fact that, can I give you credit for good? Can I help you to manage your wealth very well without charging any commission from you? I should not have any interest in mis-selling that insurance and that investment product to you. And that is why there was a reason that there came a slew of investment platforms and people didn't invest with the banks. And let's ask, we have the best of the investment platforms in this country. But the question is, why was there a need? Why the banks didn't solve for it? So I agree that the penetration, even though we have the bank accounts like no other country can host, but we still haven't solved for the penetration across credit and across wealth management. And I think that's our attempt with banking, is that you invest from the same bank. You take a credit from the same bank for good.
Okay.
God, it's like marriage now. I'm worried. Better remember the dates, where you bank, who you bank with.
Cyrus, finally, something for you. Sridhar Bhupati says, hi, Cyrus. Would like to know about how can parents transfer cash to their kids overseas through online mechanism with less charges levied?
The Foreign Exchange Regulation Act is no longer in play. But I let the experts. I suppose, Apurv, this will be for you.
Yeah. So honestly, it's a good question. So, unfortunately, we don't provide foreign remittances for now for you, but maybe soon. I think by the end of the year, we have just started providing a deposit pillar to you where you can open a bank account, deposit money, have a debit card. We're just about to launch investments and credit card. I think by the year we will have foreign remittances. But yeah, just to answer your question, your bank will help you facilitate foreign remittances for you at a very good markup price. Wait for Jupiter. We hope to do that for you without any forex markup off.
But guys, it's a great question because, people, it's a global world. You're going to land up, if not just the kids going abroad to study, but even the person going at some point or the other. And suddenly you can't have that feeling you had in India approaching a bank there or approaching payments there. It's got to be as simple as what we will be doing here online.
Yeah. So it's a shameless plug. The debit card of Jupiter enables you to transact anywhere in the world with zero forex markup.
You don't have to say shameless plug. लिखा है MOU में लिखा है. It's right here.
उसे लिए आए हैं.
Grim is saying well put for now. He's backing off. He's saying he can't do anything about us. We're horrible. Go on, Abbas.
Next question is from Arpit. Arpit says, of all possible options, who was responsible for choosing Cyrus Says? And what has been the team's response seeing Cyrus fumble everything while promoting Jupiter?
But I think that's the key. You have to get the idiot to understand the market. And that was the point. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I think, yeah.
है कोई जवाब?
मेरा एक है before Apurv, because Apurv will give like a more formal answer. I think mine was, I am a big sort of fan of Cyrus Says. I keep listening to it, and I heard other people sort of sponsoring. So I just sort of initiated.
Can I answer?
So the mistake is yours. That's what it was, You're taking full credit, to use a bank term. Sorry, Apurv, go on.
Can I say that when we say new way of banking, it's a choice of a new generation. And when you say choice of a new generation, which brand comes to your mind? And who promoted that brand when that came into India? I think Cyrus. No one can actually defy that Cyrus represented choice of a new generation out there back then.
Abbas is talking about Pornhub. Huh? Just
right.
Just remember it was a music channel first, just for the record. Yeah.
Cool. Let's take a couple more. This one comes from Vineet. He says, how much of a competitor are Uni?
These guys, they're like But this is the problem with our market, yaar. They just want to do Kira. They just want to sit there and irritate these two. Couldn't ask one question about, why is Rohit Sharma not captaining or something? Give me something. Oh, go on.
Yeah. So I would say, and for technical response, that when you say fintech firms, actually the landscape is insurance tech, lending tech, payments, and then banking. And banking is something which encapsulates everyone. So just to answer you, Uni or Slice are on the credit side. Banking, when we are solving for banking, we aim to solve for deposit side, for credit side, for investment, for insurance. So my idea and my firm belief is that if you bank with your bank for good, and your bank thinks for you in good, he will help you solve for your credit, investment, insurance, and everything. So the attempt is not just to solve for you, while Slice and Uni is trying to attempt in that their own good intended way, but ours is to just solve it across the pillars.
Yeah, and Slice being more of a buy now pay later under the hood, we have a similar product which is called Jupiter Edge, which we have relaunched only on Android for now. And it's almost a similar format. So there's Jupiter and there's Jupiter Edge, who's specifically sort of not competing, but in a similar space.
But Slice is a cold drink. I don't know what he's talking about, as far as I know. You can't really bank with a cold drink. What will cold drink ke saath? You go stand in the branch with a cold drink.
The world has moved on, Cyrus.
Any nice questions? Enough banking questions. Let the boys relax now.
All banking questions. I'm going to take one more banking question.
This is one subject that everybody's interested in. That's why we screwed up on that. Normally, the professional who come, no one's interested in the subject. We are safe. Chalo, theek hai.
By the way, I just want to say that Vinay is also coughing very aggressively in the studio. So
our producer.
So after Silvery, I don't know if I'll be the sole person.
No. Abbas, tell him to lie face down. On the floor. That's the best way to protect everyone. And then you'll continue. Just make sure his face is on the floor. It's fine.
Okay, I'm going to take one more AMA question. This comes from InfoShots. Will Jupiter be like Paytm, which is a payment app as well as a digitized bank, or solely a digital bank?
Yeah, Apurv, this is for you because you went from Paytm to Jupiter. I think he's purposely asked this question.
Yeah.
So I would say a Paytm or a PhonePe or a Google Pay, they're classified as payment apps because precisely what they enable you is to solve for your any use case around payment, be it payment for your rent, electricity, or anything of that sort. And as I say that, someone was solving for payment, someone was solving for insurance, someone was solving for lending. No one solved it for banking. And banking encapsulates everything, as I said. So Jupiter, so you can pay any QR code, by the way, with Jupiter. And, we'll do an additional step of letting you know that after you did 10 QR code scans last month, where did you end up spending your money around that? And as I say, that inherently was missing in any banking or any payment app. They just wanted you to spend without letting you know that how could you control where you could spend. So we will solve for anything within payments, lending, insurance, just to answer it. So bank is, they say now, bank is the father of all, be it insurance, lending, or payments. We'll eventually do everything. We have started from deposits and payments. We are moving towards wealth management and cards. So I hope the name Jupiter in itself says we'll be the largest of all. I hope we are the largest of all. But yeah,
so then in Delhi, when you get into a fight, Apurva, and they say, "Jante ho mera baap kaun hai?" You have to say Jupiter. Just checking.
I couldn't say, but aapne bol diya.
Okay. Abbas, say now you need a break. Why blame Vinay?
I'm saying if Vinay also goes, then even more work for me. So Vinay, please stay.
But what do you mean by Vinay goes? Vinay goes is a very horrible thing to say. What
no, as in go home.
Okay, go
nowhere else.
Yeah. Just one. I want to ask a question on Abbas's behalf. Now, Abbas is a collector of sex toys and buys a lot of sex toys online. Is that okay for him to do these purchases using the app?
Yeah, I think we have something called as enriching a transaction. So we might just have to place a different keyword for that sort of purchase.
Also, the bank statements I don't think they do.
Reflect.
I don't know if they name.
So today's bank statement, one differentiator which we have is today's bank statement.
Pretending not to know. What's sahi baat hai in this world? The acting is important. I don't know. I'm not clear because I don't buy it. But this
also,
is
you can't officially sell sex toys in India, so they show up as massagers. So if a massager shows up on my statement, I'm
that inflatable doll that you bought.
No, that wasn't from India.
Okay, you replace it with Vinay or Silvery. I can't remember.
Yes.
So this is the internal talk. We'll get out of it. Let's take one more nice one.
This is more of a statement than a question, but Tarun Kaushik says that my uncle's weekly pastime is to visit different banks and get his passbook updated.
I can relate to that. Everybody's
There
got a
you go,
relative like
physical
that.
banks still have a clientele.
They also have a
Yeah.
bank day back in the day. That the bank day where one day where the person would have to go. Fair enough. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, but we'll make a film. There'll be an arty film made on the bank Zamana and all that. What else can we do? The world has just moved on. Stay with Jupiter or get lost. That's it. That's the truth, bro. It's just cold sometimes, but that's the truth. All right,
Yeah.
guys, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for being on the show and for supporting our show. And Grim Fandango is a huge fan. He's downloaded the app. So don't worry. All these guys are with you now. Abbas, any last words?
Yeah.
Any requests?
Not really, just a request from you to say the line that we say.
Oh, Arpit is just saying I'm already a customer at Jupiter.
There you
Wow.
go.
That's not bad. We've got a few converts already. That's not too bad at all. So people, don't forget to download the Jupiter Money app on the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. Let me check with these two entrepreneurs right here. Where can we download the Jupiter Money app, boys? Kedar?
Same App Store and Play Store.
You just said.
Okay, that spends the whole day on
the
this.
other
Can you
way around.
imagine
You should have
that?
asked
Yeah.
them and then
Yeah. I should
Yeah.
have. Damn it.
Yeah.
Just checked. If they were blank, it would have been worth it. The whole show. Anyway, all right, guys. Have a good one. Have a good weekend. And we'll see everybody soon. That's the boys from Jupiter, Apurv and Kedar, taking us through why it's a fabulous experience. Stay with Jupiter and stay with Cyrus Says. We'll leave you with a picture of this beautiful t-shirt.
And happy birthday to Aisha once again.
All right.
you,
Oh,
Cyrus.
shit. That's
Yeah.
right. Oh, God. I need to use my Jupiter app right now. Okay, bye, guys. And not
Bye-bye.
for
Okay,
a toy.
thanks.
Not for a
Yeah,
toy.
thanks.
How dare you?
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having us. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps, please. We beg you, we need you. Send us your questions on Twitter, on Cyrus Says In. Or you can email us, even if you're not female, on whatcyrussays@gmail.com.